Welcome to another deep dive. Today we're sponsored by Cloudfit.ai. That's with a C.
Cloudfit.
Yeah, they're a B2B fashion commerce company.
Mm-hmm.
Founded by, well, some pretty big names in fashion e-commerce, actually.
Oh, interesting.
And they're using AI, artificial intelligence, to help boost their clients' revenue by increasing user engagement.
Makes sense.
Yeah. And actually, that's kind of perfect because today's deep dive is all about cutting-edge AI.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, specifically Alibaba Cloud's Qwen series of large language models.
Okay.
So you sent over a bunch of articles and research, and there's a lot of buzz about this. So we're going to try to break it down, cut through the hype.
Awesome.
We're going to focus on two models in particular: Qwen 2.5 VL, the one that can see,
Okay.
and Qwen 2.5 1M, which has like a crazy huge memory.
Right. I remember reading about that.
Yeah. So let's start with VL, the visual one.
Yeah, it's pretty remarkable, right? What we're seeing with these models is how they're really starting to push the limits of what AI can do.
So this one is, what do we call it? A vision language model?
Yeah, a vision language model. That means it can understand both images and text simultaneously.
So like a computer that can read a book and watch a movie at the same time.
It's a pretty close analogy, actually. It's a huge leap forward from what we've seen, traditional AI that could only handle one or the other.
Wow. Yeah. So, but how does that translate into like real world stuff?
Okay, well, let's take object recognition, for example. Now, Qwen 2.5 VL can go beyond just saying, oh, there's a cat in the picture. It can actually tell you exactly where that cat is, create like a bounding box around it.
Just like giving you coordinates.
Exactly.
That seems super useful for developers if they're going to build something using this.
It is. It's very useful. And the
Yeah.
level of detail is pretty impressive. Like, it can tell the difference between a red-winged blackbird and a blue-winged teal.
Wow. Are those birds?
They are.
Okay. I mean, that's amazing. That's like some serious visual processing.
Yeah, you're right, it is. And it shows how far computer vision has come. It's also really good at recognizing celebrities in photos. Well, for example, it can identify Michael Jackson and Donald Trump in the same photograph.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
So it's like a gossip columnist now. Okay, but let's move on from the flash and glamour. What about this document understanding thing?
Right, so this is where things get really interesting for businesses. Imagine you have a pile of receipts, right? Qwen 2.5 VL can pull out the total amount, the date, all the information you need for expense reports.
No more data entry. Come on.
Exactly.
That's a dream come true. What else?
Well, it can also verify addresses on labels by matching them to pictures of buildings.
Really?
Yeah.
So it's like an address detective.
Exactly.
That's pretty useful.
Imagine that for logistics companies.
Wow. Oh man, that's amazing. Okay, so we've talked about pictures and text.
Right.
Now, video. Can it handle that?
It can, yeah.
Yeah.
Qwen 2.5 VL can work with videos that are up to an hour long.
Wow, a whole hour?
Yeah. Think of all the information in an hour-long video. This model can analyze it and pull out key insights. Well, it can identify specific moments or events within a video.
Okay.
It can give you timestamps.
Right.
For example, let's say you're watching a cooking show.
Okay.
And you want to know the exact moment they add a specific ingredient.
So you don't have to keep rewinding.
Exactly. Qwen 2.5 VL can tell you the precise second it happens.
Okay, so it's like a sous chef, this thing. This VL model is amazing.
It is. It has a lot of potential in a lot of different fields.
So let's move on to the other model. This one is called Qwen 2.5 1M.
Yes.
What makes this one stand out?
Qwen 2.5 1M, well, this one's all about context. It has a context length of 1 million tokens.
A million.
Yeah. And to put that in perspective, that's like 2 whole books.
2 books. My brain can barely remember what I had for breakfast.
It's a lot of information. But context is super important for understanding, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Try to imagine having a conversation where you could only remember the last couple of sentences.
I'd be so lost.
You would, right? You'd miss all the nuance.
Yeah.
So Qwen 2.5 1M, basically they've given AI a superhuman memory.
Wow. And what does that let it do?
It allows it to understand information in a way that we haven't really seen before. It can see the big picture. It can grasp complex relationships between ideas and even connect things that might not be immediately obvious.
Give me an example.
Okay, think about analyzing legal documents, for instance. You could feed an entire case file into Qwen 2.51M.
Okay.
It could identify key arguments, maybe find some contradictions. It could even look for precedents from past cases.
So like a legal eagle.
Yeah, exactly. It's like having a superpowered legal assistant who's read every law book in existence.
Wow.
And it's not just limited to legal work. You could apply this to scientific research, analyzing those huge data sets, looking for patterns.
That's amazing.
It could potentially help scientists make new discoveries.
Okay, now we have AI that can see AI that has a super memory.
Yeah.
How is that even possible? How do they train something to handle that much information?
Yeah, it's pretty incredible. They use some very innovative training techniques. One of them is called fill in the middle.
Okay, fill in the middle.
Yeah, essentially they take out chunks of text and make the model fill them back in, using the surrounding context.
So it's like a giant jigsaw puzzle for AI.
That's a good way to put it. It really forces the model to understand the relationships between different pieces of information, not just the words themselves.
Right.
They also use something called paragraph reordering. They shuffle up the paragraphs in a text and then have the model try to put them back in the right order.
Paragraph reordering. That's interesting. So like they're teaching it storytelling?
Yeah, kind of.
Yeah.
Giving it a sense of, how information should flow in a logical way. But all this technical stuff, maybe we should bring it back down to earth.
Yeah, for sure.
And talk about how these models are being used in the real world.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Like, how is all this actually changing things?
Well, that's where it gets really exciting. We're already seeing Qwen models being integrated into everyday apps, and they're changing how we interact with technology.
Give me some examples. I'm really curious.
All right, well, imagine you're using a travel app. Instead of typing in, all the details, you could just show Qwen a picture of where you want to go.
Wait, hold on. So you're saying it can understand that just from a picture?
It can. It recognizes the place, figures out what you're trying to do, and starts filling in all those search fields for you. The dates, the airports, you name it.
No more like tiny keyboards or endless drop-down menus.
Exactly.
It's like having a little AI travel agent right there in your pocket.
And it goes even further. Think about social media.
Okay.
Let's say you want to send your friend a birthday message. You show Qwen a picture of them, right? And you say, "Happy birthday."
That's it. And it just sends it.
It does. It knows who you're talking about, understands the context, takes care of the rest.
This is wild. It's like AI is becoming our personal assistant.
Well, yeah, it's about making things simpler.
Yeah.
Think about people who have trouble typing or figuring out all those menus and stuff.
Right.
This could make technology more inclusive, easier for everyone to use.
Absolutely.
And these are just the things we're seeing now. Imagine what's coming next as these models keep getting better.
Yeah, it's exciting, but it's also a little, I don't know, kind of scary too, right? This stuff is developing so fast. Where does it all lead?
Well, that's the big question, isn't it? As AI becomes more powerful, we have to really think about what that means.
Like, what about jobs? Are robots going to take everyone's job?
It's a valid concern.
Yeah.
We need to be smart about this. It's not necessarily like a winner-take-all situation, though.
How so?
AI can take over certain tasks, for sure, but it can also open up whole new opportunities. It can augment what we do, free us up to be more creative, focus on bigger picture stuff.
So it's not AI versus humans?
No, it's about humans and AI working together. It's finding the right balance, using this technology to make things better for everyone.
Okay, so you mentioned this is all happening on a global scale. What does that mean for, where AI is going?
We're seeing innovation coming from all over the world, and not just the big tech companies.
You mentioned some competition for Alibaba. Was it Deepseek?
Yeah, Deepseek, they've developed a model called Deepseek V3, and it's really making waves in the AI community.
How so?
Well, first of all, it's performing as well as some of the top large language models out there, but they're doing it for a fraction of the cost and training time.
Really? Cheaper and faster? I thought these models were super expensive to develop.
They usually are. But Deepseek V3 was trained for less than $6 million using older NVIDIA chips, the H800s.
$6 million? That's like pocket change compared to what some companies are spending.
Right. It's like they're disrupting the whole AI industry, going up against the giants with a much more agile and efficient approach.
So who's noticed them?
Well, the source material actually quoted Sam Altman, the CEO of OpenAI.
The ChatGPT guy.
Yeah, he said he welcomes the competition from DeepSeek.
Wow, that's pretty high praise from the ChatGPT team.
Right. It just goes to show how impressive DeepSeek's work is. They're really pushing the boundaries of what's possible.
So is this like an AI arms race now?
Well, in a way, yes. We've got companies all over the world competing, trying to be the best.
What's that going to mean for AI in the future?
It's hard to say exactly, but one thing is for sure, things are moving fast. We're going to see even more incredible advancements in the years to come.
That's both exciting and a little bit scary at the same time. But we're not just, like, bystanders here, are we?
No, definitely not. We all have a role to play in shaping what AI becomes.
So, ethical implications.
Absolutely. We need to talk about how we can make sure this technology is used for good.
Make sure everyone benefits.
Exactly. It's about figuring out how to harness the power of AI while also making sure it doesn't get out of control.
Okay, so bring it back to Qwen for a minute. We talked about all the amazing things it can do, but what are its limitations? What can't it do?
That's a great question. No AI model is perfect, even the most advanced ones.
Okay, so what are Qwen's weaknesses then?
One area where it still struggles a bit is common sense reasoning. It can process information, make connections, but it doesn't always have that same intuitive understanding of the world that we do as humans.
So, like, it can analyze a legal document, but it might not pick up on those little nuances of human behavior that can affect a case.
Exactly. Or it can identify objects in a photo, but it might not understand their real-world significance, the context.
That's like the difference between knowing the facts and actually understanding what they mean.
Exactly. And that's something researchers are working on, trying to improve.
Are there any other limitations we should know about?
Another challenge is bias. AI models are trained on massive data sets, and those data sets can reflect the biases that exist in the real world.
So if it's trained on data that has, say, gender or racial stereotypes, it might end up perpetuating those biases in its results.
Right, and that's something we have to be very careful about as we develop and use these technologies.
So it's a reminder that AI is a tool, and like any tool, it can be used for good or bad.
Exactly. It all comes down to how we choose to use it.
This is really eye-opening stuff. We've gone from the technical details of these Qwen models to like the big picture of what AI means for society.
It's a fascinating topic.
Yeah, it is. But before we wrap up, I want to go back to that competition between Alibaba and Deepseek.
Yeah,
That's something to watch.
definitely.
You said Deepseek is getting really impressive results for less money.
Yeah, it's making people rethink how AI should be developed.
Could this like open up AI to more than just the big companies?
It's possible. If DeepSeek's model proves to be really effective and scalable, it could empower smaller companies, research institutions, maybe even individuals to contribute to AI innovation.
Wow, that would be a huge change.
It would. We might see a much more diverse and vibrant AI ecosystem with new ideas coming from all kinds of places.
That sounds amazing, but doesn't that also mean more risk?
Of course. The more accessible AI becomes, the more important it is to have ethical guidelines and responsible development practices in place.
It's not enough to just make AI more powerful. We have to make sure it's used for the right reasons.
Exactly. The future of AI is something we all need to be involved in shaping.
This has been a fascinating deep dive into the world of Qwen, DeepSeek, and all this AI stuff.
It has been.
We've covered a lot of ground today.
Yeah.
We're not quite done yet. In part 3, we're going to dig deeper into that rivalry between Alibaba and DeepSeek.
It's a story that's still unfolding.
And we'll explore what all this means for the future of AI.
Stay tuned.
Welcome back to the Deep Dive. We're continuing our conversation about the AI landscape, especially that rivalry between Alibaba's Qwen models and DeepSeek.
Yeah, DeepSeek's really shaken things up.
Their model, DeepSeek V3, it's really getting a lot of attention.
It is, and it's interesting because it's not just about, who has the most powerful AI. It's about different approaches to development.
You mentioned before that DeepSeek's approach is more cost-effective, right? Can you talk a bit more about that?
Sure. DeepSeek seems to be focused on efficiency and accessibility. They're getting results comparable to other leading models, but they're doing it with way less computing power and financial investment.
That's amazing. AI development has always been this game for companies with tons of money and resources.
Exactly. But DeepSeek is showing that you can achieve groundbreaking results with a leaner, more agile approach.
So what are the implications of that? Could this, open up AI development to a wider range of players?
It's definitely a possibility. If DeepSeek can show that their methods are scalable and sustainable, it could really empower smaller companies, research institutions, maybe even individuals to get involved in AI innovation.
Wow. That would be a huge shift, democratizing AI, making it more accessible. What would that mean for the future of AI?
Well, it's hard to predict with certainty, but it could lead to a much more diverse and vibrant AI ecosystem. We could see new ideas and applications coming from all sorts of unexpected places.
That's exciting. But it also sounds a little bit, I don't know, risky.
You're right. Any powerful technology has the potential to be misused.
So if AI becomes more accessible,
Hmm.
doesn't that mean it could be easier for people with bad intentions to use it for harmful purposes?
That's a valid concern. And it highlights the need for ethical guidelines and responsible development practices, more than ever before.
It's not just about making AI more powerful, it's about ensuring it's used for good.
Absolutely. We need to be thinking about the societal impact of AI and making sure it aligns with human values.
Okay, so we talked about DeepSeek getting attention from some big names like
Mm.
Sam Altman, the CEO of OpenAI.
Right.
That's the company behind ChatGPT, right?
Yeah.
He actually praised DeepSeek's work.
He did. He acknowledged their progress and even expressed admiration for their approach.
Wow, that's pretty significant coming from the leader of one of the most prominent AI companies.
It is. It shows that DeepSeek is being taken seriously as a competitor. And it's clear that their approach is shaking things up in the industry.
So what does all this mean for Alibaba? Are they feeling the heat?
It's tough to say for sure, but it's likely that they're paying close attention to what DeepSeek is doing. And they're probably looking for ways to stay ahead of the curve.
Do you think this rivalry, this competition, is ultimately a good thing for AI?
Competition often leads to innovation. So it's definitely possible that this rivalry will push both companies to develop even better AI technologies.
It's like an AI arms race, but hopefully one that ends up benefiting everyone.
Exactly. We need to make sure that AI development is driven by a sense of purpose and responsibility.
This has been an incredible deep dive. We've learned so much about Qwen, DeepSeek, and the future of AI. It's a complex and rapidly evolving field, but it's also incredibly exciting.
It is.
If our listeners want to learn more, where would you suggest they start?
There are some great resources available online and in libraries. I'd recommend checking out reputable publications and organizations that focus on AI research and ethics.
And don't be afraid to ask questions. Engage in conversations about AI. It's something that's going to affect all of us.
Absolutely. The more informed we are, the better equipped we'll be to navigate this new era of AI.
Well, thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive. It's been a pleasure having you here.
It's been my pleasure.
And to our listeners, thanks for tuning in. Keep exploring, keep learning, and keep asking questions. The future of AI is in all of our hands.